Welcome back to another fun and fascinating deal that is Storytime with BradyBot. I've recently got back from the Puerto Vallarta Regional, held in northwest Mexico, a beautiful resort town right on the ocean front there. And this hand came up on the very first day of the competition. Now, I was playing with a pickup partner. My partner was Oren Kriegel for this hand. And when I picked up this very distributional hand, I decided that one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to make my bids relatively in tempo here. I think that if you pause and spend a lot of time on problems like this, there are some benefits. Like if you really have some serious problems to think through, then you need to take your time to solve those problems. But with a hand like this, we could be easily called for 7 clubs opposite a lot of different hand types, and it's going to be relatively difficult to find out if partner has one of those hands. We could find out if partner has 2 aces, for example, with key card. That would be enough for 13 tricks and no trump. But there are other hands like the ace queen of spades, with or without the king of hearts. That would be enough for 13 tricks and clubs. If partner has the king of hearts and the ace of spades, that would be enough. But if partner has the ace of diamonds, that's not a particularly useful card for us unless partner also has the spade ace. So I decided I wanted to make my bids in relatively quick tempo to, one, not give partner any problems in the auction so that partner would be allowed to think or make their bids in proper tempo without gaining unauthorized information from ourselves, realizing that we have a difficult problem. But 2, I kind of wanted to keep the opponents on edge a little bit. They're not going to know that we have such a distributional hand. And so if I did end up bidding 7 clubs at a later point in the auction, they might find it a little bit more challenging to know what the right lead is. It's possible that they need to cash the ace of spades, or even if I decide to stop in 6 clubs, there are hands where 6 could go down if they lead a heart at trick 1, but it might make if they lead anything else. And I wanted to make it as difficult as possible for the opponents to know what was going on with my hand, which is why I kind of decided already before making my 2 club response that I was going to try and make my bids in tempo. Well, with that said, we kind of have reached a critical decision point in the auction. I see 3 different ways that we can proceed from here. 1, we could try and investigate sensibly for a grand slam. Now, what that would look like if you're unfamiliar with these 2/1 auctions, we're already game forcing. But a way that we can ensure that we have set a trump suit and allow ourselves to Q-bid in favor of that trump suit is we can jump in the trump suit. So here, a bid of 4 clubs by us would set clubs as trump and effectively force partner to start Q-bidding. And what would that auction kind of look like? Well, we would bid 4 clubs. Partner's pretty likely to bid 4 diamonds because they have the diamond ace or king. They're not going to know that the king of diamonds is useless to us. So they'll bid 4 diamonds. We can bid 4 hearts. And then we get the important clue from our partner, which is that they'll either Q-bid 4 spades or they won't. If they don't Q-bid 4 spades, we can safely sign off in 6 clubs. If they do Q-bid 4 spades, we could continue investigating further. It's possible they might bid 4 hearts instead, then we could Q-bid 4 spades or do something else, I suppose. And that would be our way to kind of sensibly investigate for a grand. The 2 other options, I think, are 1, we could just blast 7 clubs. It's possible that there's a lead which beats 7 clubs, but giving them as little information as possible on defense might make it harder for them to find it. For example, maybe right-hand opponent has the spade ace, and they need to get a spade lead at trick 1. Well, if we bid 7 clubs now and don't alert them to the fact that they need to take the ace of spades, they might not figure that out. Or a third option, which is what I eventually went with, is to kind of walk the dog on this hand. And I'll show you what I mean as the auction proceeds. So sometimes we can do this process called walking the dog if the opponents are involved in the auction. Like, for example, if our right-hand opponent had come in with a heart over a diamond and we had still bid 2 clubs, and our left-hand opponent had bid 2 hearts, and let's say our partner had bid 3 diamonds or something, and right-hand opponent had bid 4 hearts, maybe we could then bid 5 clubs in the hope of inducing the opponents to bid 5 hearts. Then we could bid 6 clubs on top of that and hope the opponents would double us. Well, that hasn't exactly happened in this auction, but there is going to be a compelling case to be made for actually walking the dog. Now, the opponents aren't going to save us. If we sign off in 5 clubs here, partner's just going to pass and the opponents are going to let us play there. But what happens if we continue making forcing bids to show a relatively strong hand and then eventually settle into 6 clubs? What's this going to look like to our opponents? I'll show you what I mean. Here's how the auction proceeded. I continued with 2 no trump over 2 diamonds. For one thing, because this was a new partnership, I actually didn't want to risk partner pulling 6 clubs to 6 no trump at a later point in the auction. The way that I had chosen to proceed might sound to partner like I'm not certain that clubs is going to be the right trump suit. And so I wanted to really protect my king of spades from the opening lead. It would expose partner's diamond holding, but I think there's a decent chance that partner has the ace of diamonds or the king queen of diamonds or even just the king, which might be enough to prevent them from leading diamonds through his hand, especially given that he's bid diamonds a couple of times. And secondly, I kind of wanted it to sound as if my hand was a little bit more, say, balanced for the auction. So I bid 2 no trump, my partner bid 3 spades, I bid 4 clubs, which was forcing, and my partner, with nothing else to say in this auction, decided to sign off in 5 clubs. Well, I continued with 6 clubs, and look at what happened. It went pass, and my right-hand opponent, I knew this at the time, my right-hand opponent was a pro player playing with a sponsor on his left, elected to double in balancing seat. Well, I had a very easy redouble, and the play took about 5 seconds. The opening lead was the 2 of diamonds, and I claimed at trick 1 without even playing a card. I roughed the opening lead, pulled trumps, crossed to the king of hearts, pitched 2 spades on the ace king of diamonds, and I had all 13 tricks. So what actually happened on this hand? Well, right-hand opponent was looking at a bunch of diamond cards, so he knew that dummies diamonds were not going to take a ton of tricks on an auction like this. He was also looking at an ace, so figured that he would get at least 1 trick on defense, especially given that I had effectively showed some sort of balance type hand with 2 no trump. And the most important thing that he was looking at was a trump void. So he was expecting that his partner was pretty likely to have an unexpected club trick on an auction like this. My partner couldn't do anything more than raise 4 clubs to 5 clubs, so North did not have a good hand in support of clubs, given that he's already opened the bidding. And the fact that I had bid 2 no trump to start with made East kind of believe that my hand really wasn't actually that much of a powerhouse of a single suited hand for clubs, because everyone knows we're supposed to start with 4 clubs with this hand. So this ends up being an enormous result for our team, because not only did I get to 6 clubs redoubled, making an over trick, which is worth 1580 in terms of score, much more than the 940 or 920 that I would have scored if I had just bid 6 clubs or had a safer auction to the 6 level. But at the other table, all the way back at the point where I had bid 2 no trump, they also bid 2 no trump. It went 3 spades by opener. Actually, I think it went a diamond, 2 clubs, 2 spades by opener, and South immediately jumped to 7 clubs. And our teammate sitting west over here, looking at the queen of hearts, looking at the 3 small diamonds and 3 small clubs, made a judgment call based on table feel that 2 spade bid from North was what South wanted to hear to jump to 7 clubs, and led the 2 of spades. So a spade went to East ace at trick 1, 7 clubs went down at the other table, and we picked up an enormous swing on this board to win the match. So it goes to show that distributional hands, I mean, they make for great stories. And sometimes doing something a little off kilter, as long as you have a plan going into it, and you make sure that you make forcing bids at every opportunity, can lead to kind of amusing, positive results. It might not be the best way to handle this type of deal, but it certainly gave me a great story to tell. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you next time.